here with a bit of advice on air. We should be live on Facebook, and we are going live on Twitch as we speak. And today, we're going to be talking to Ricky Powell. We talked to him last week. We had a few issues in studio, and we got them worked out, so we're going to try to shoot for that show again. And so I want to tell you what a bit of advice is. Dennis started a bit of advice on air several months ago, and we now have over 100,000 likes on Facebook, and we're also on Twitch. And after the live feed, this video will be up on our page on abitofadvice.org. And also check out our page, yesplaceradio.org. So I'm going to be introducing Ricky Powell. And so Ricky Powell is a child actor on Bewitched and the first Lego My Ego Kid in 1972. And he also worked with NBC behind the scenes for 25 years. And here he is on Skype.
Ta-da!
So,
Hey Joshua.
Hey, how you doing today, Ricky?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, man. It looks like you're happy. SuccessPotential.com, Chief Success Officer, official, right here.
What could be better?
That's right.
In the business, this is called Take Two, right?
Yeah, Take Two.
This is Take Two.
So in your career, it started as a child, and how old were you on Bewitched? And what was your favorite part of your role as Sydney?
So Bewitched was the very first TV show I got, an episode of Bewitched, which was my favorite show in the world. And I was 9 when I did my first episode. I started acting when I was 7, and it took me a couple years to get rolling, took acting lessons, all of that sort of thing. And then, lo and behold, I got to be on my favorite show in the whole world.
That's awesome. So what was your favorite part about playing that role as Sydney?
Well, I have to say my favorite part was meeting Elizabeth Montgomery, and not only meeting her, but really get to appear on screen with her and, and be in scenes with her. I had such a crush on her even as a 9-year-old, right? And it was very cool. It was a very cool experience working on that show, getting to see how all the magic was done, behind the scenes and all of that. And Erin Murphy, who played Tabitha, is a friend of mine. We got back into contact with each other several years ago thanks to Facebook and modern technology. So, it was a great experience.
Awesome. So we have a few people joining us. Lori Shock says, hi, guys, coming in loud and clear, so everybody can definitely...
Oh, thank you for that. That's great to know.
So you want to be a part of it?
No, it's fine. Just keep going.
Okay. All right, so our sound tech just got here, so right on time. So, all right, so I got a few questions for you I'm going to be asking you. So my next question is, how did you land the role of the Lego My Ego Kid in 1972 when you were 10 years old, and did that help you start your career behind the scenes for NBC?
Well, no, it did not help me start my career with NBC behind the scenes. And the way I got it was that I had an agent, and so he would send me out on auditions, and all of a sudden one day my mom got the call, and there was an audition for something called Eggo Waffles, and they hadn't even come out yet. So my mom took me to the audition, and there was a one-page piece of copy, it's called, which there was an audition for something called we looked and it said, Dad and kid both say, Lego My Ego. And my mom and I looked at each other and we said, what the heck is an Eggo? Like, we hadn't even heard of it yet. It hadn't even come out yet. And little did I know, but I was lucky enough to get that commercial. And the gentleman who played my father, his name was Gordon Jump, and he went on to be a pretty big comedy actor. He was in WKRP in Cincinnati and many other things as well. And so it was a part of history. Who knew that Eggo Waffles would become, as big as they are?
Yeah, they are a big name, that is for sure.
Yeah.
So my next question is, can you give us a quick summary of your book, Happiness Rocks, that published in May of 2012, which was 6 years ago, coming up next month?
Thank you. Yes, happy anniversary. Happiness Rocks. Yeah, and the subtitle of the book is A Powerful Blueprint to Help You Master the Art of Lifelong Happiness. And I really think that happiness is something that we really can elevate to an art form. Positive psychology, the field of positive psychology, definitely has it down to a science now, which is incredible. And I did a deep dive many years ago into the subject and just became so fascinated with it. So essentially, Happiness Rocks is a little bit of my story. It kind of starts out with how I, got to even really write the book, and a little bit about my childhood, and then how I wound up at NBC. And the fact that it was my first 9 years there, I was working with a really challenging individual, and that was my inspiration, really, to pick up my first book on the subject of happiness, because it was an effort really to help him and help myself get through it.
Right.
So I picked up my first book on the subject by Dennis Prager, Happiness is a Serious Problem, and just became fascinated with it, took it, ran with it, read every book I could on the topic, and then wrote Happiness Rocks. So it's and a lot of my background, and then I use the words Happiness Rocks as an acronym. So each chapter takes the first letter and goes from there. So for instance, the H in happiness is happiness habits worth having.
Right.
And so it's everything from really taking care of yourself by like getting enough sleep and exercising and eating and supplements and all of that sort of thing. The A stands for attitude of gratitude, and I talk about how important gratitude is and being grateful and all of that, and then so on down the line.
Right. That sounds awesome. I'm going to have to check that book out. I want to say hello to all the people that are joining us on this live feed. Thank you, Christy. Hello, Myra. What's up, Lance? I see you. I see a lot of people from Tuscaloosa, Alabama joining us. So
awesome. Hey, everyone.
From Alabama, people that I know. Appreciate y'all joining us. I see my wife's joined on here. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to go on to my next question. And so my next question is, what's a way that we can be happier every day? Like, what's some small things that will help us in our daily routine that we can do to be happier?
I think there's lots of things, and in fact, to that question, I will say I'm really excited that we're doing this Take Two, because between last week and this week, I just launched an app called Awesome Life.
Yes, I downloaded it. It's awesome.
Yeah, you already have it, right? Fantastic. So, yeah, if people text the number 40691 as a message and just text the word awesome, and you can automatically download this free app called Awesome Life, and it's specifically to help people by delivering a daily dose of inspiration. And the way that happens is just through one of my favorite inspirational quotes. I love quotes. Sometimes all you need is a good quote, really, to land and resonate, right? And so it's a daily dose of inspiration right to your phone. And there's going to be so many other things, like you can take selfies and right in the app, and then they get posted within minutes to the gallery, and you can look at all the previous pictures. And so I'm so excited about it because, here's the thing, Joshua, is that we all have up to 65,000 thoughts a day. Right, that's a lot of
crazy.
thoughts.
I didn't think about it like that. I guess we do have a lot of thoughts.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And here's the thing: of those 65,000 thoughts, they're all either positively or negatively charged. There really is no neutral. And they found that up to 85% of them are negative. And it's not really our fault. It's that we're bombarded with so much negativity through the news and everywhere you turn, on TV, in the newspaper, social media, everywhere, there's so much negativity. And here's two other points. One, we tend to have the same thoughts day after day after day, right?
That's very
and it takes 7 positives to counter 1 negative.
That is crazy.
So when you do the math, you can see it really takes a concerted effort, right, to feed your mind the positive material and the positive content that is going to keep you on track and positively focused and with the right attitude and all of that.
That's
awesome. So I just think it's so critically important. So, that's one of the reasons I came up for the app, because when we do things like this, it's great, it's awesome, and people can, get inspired and charged up and all of that. But then when it's over, then what? Then we go back to life and every day and all of that. So it's very important for what I call spaced repetition, where you keep getting, repetitive positive messages on a daily basis.
And that's awesome. I'm glad, and I like that it's free and that it'll, send notifications to your phone. I seen that it was backed by Warner Bros. So
yeah,
we got some connections in there, huh?
So what happened was I listed a lot of the companies that I've spoken to before, right? But there are sponsorship opportunities. So companies out there, when I go speak, and if they enroll, say, in my Success Potential Empowerment Training, right, which is, and the idea behind that is that I don't just come in and do a one and done. In other words, I sure could do just one keynote speech and then walk out forever. But what I'm excited about that particular program is that it can be up to a year-long program where I can come back every quarter and do a group training, and then also take an 8-hour day or a 10-hour day, break it into 16 or 20 individual sessions, and work with every single employee on an individual basis to help them set and achieve personal and professional goals and all of that, and hold them accountable and everything. But a business can also sponsor the app, and I can make a version of the app specifically for that business to be branded with their company, and they can give it to all of their employees and support them, every day.
Yeah, because we need that. I mean, a majority of our time is working, and we don't spend time at home. I mean, a lot of us don't get a chance to spend time at home. A majority of us are always at our job, and I think our home life, that can help too as well, being happy in our home life, because that's important as well. But while you're at work, I mean, that is your second home, and it's very important to be happy and try to have positive energy. So, I really like what you're doing. That's smart, because if you have positive energy and different people, and then everybody's being positive, then what happens is it spreads, and then they'll start having conversations during breaks about being positive. Hey, did you see that quote? Things like that, instead of what they're talking about now, which is probably negative about Facebook and things like that. So I like how that, and it will grow, as time goes. I know you said you just launched it, this past week? So, and I see Lori Shock, she said she already downloaded it last week. And I want to say hello to Michael Brown, Philip, Jason. Hey, Mr. Short, how you doing? I see you. I want to just say thank you for joining us. There's a lot of people watching right now.
Fantastic.
So, my next question is, what was the most important time frame in your life, and what did you learn during that time?
Wow. I'll tell you, Joshua, I learn something new every day. Every day. I think it's so important to be a lifelong learner. And I learned an expression years ago that learners are earners, and leaders are readers. I mean, those are two things that I share all the time. And I think one of the most important life lessons I've ever learned is just treating everyone with respect.
Man, that's so true. That can get you so far, because you never know who you're talking to, especially a stranger. You never know.
You never know. And also kindness, and now I'm starting to speak to kids on kindness also in schools. Like a few weeks ago, I spoke to over 200 elementary school children from kindergarten through 5th grade, and I spoke to them for an hour on kindness and how important it is to be kind to one another, because that's when we learn it, right? We learn these lifelong lessons as kids, and then those kids become adults. And so often in our world today, I think that we've just lost touch with humanity.
Yes.
That's such a wonderful testimonial from one of the healthcare companies I spoke for last week. I did 2 presentations for them, and in every presentation I do, I always bring that element of humanity, no matter whether we're talking about stress management or avoiding burnout or change or leadership or communications, whatever it is. I always bring in that element of humanity and kindness, and how none of us knows what the other has experienced on their journey.
So true. It's so true. Everybody's going through something. That's what I try to tell people. People say, "Oh, well, some famous person's got all this money, they got all these cars. What do they have to worry about?" But it's not like that. I honestly believe, that the universe allows us, problems to build us, problems that will help us grow in the areas that we need to. And what I believe it's God, but just my belief. But,
Right.
that's what I believe because, there's so many things that are negative and positive that come in and out of our life. And I think a lot of times people see something and it's flashy and they're like, oh, well, that's just so nice. Yeah, but you don't understand that person's going through so many different struggles, so many different things with the media, and money issues. I mean, there's a lot of famous people that actually file bankruptcy, that are in debt like crazy,
Oh,
and
yeah.
people think, oh, they just got all this money, but that's not the case, and that's why it's important to be kind to people and have a good spirit to be able to grow and to help people as you go in life, because you never know what tomorrow is going to bring. You don't even know if you're going to be here tomorrow, so you got to try to swallow your pride sometimes,
And I'll tell you, Joshua, part of my signature story is I really learned that very painful lesson when I was 23 years old. I lost my best friend like that. And we were both 23 years old. We became best friends in high school and then went on to college together. And after graduating, he's the one, he got a job because of his contacts at a production company that did the Golden Girls. And he got a job there, and 6 weeks later called and they needed a post runner, and he called me at home and I was sick as a dog, and he said, it doesn't matter, come anyway, and I did. And the next thing I know, they hired me because he recommended me, and now we're working together. And it was like a dream come true. I was working with my best friend, and he had really become like a brother to me. And then just maybe 6 or 7 months later, I got a call from the lady who hired me. It was February 5th, 1986. I'll never forget that day. It was at Sunset Gower Studios in Hollywood, and the phone rang at 7:30 in the morning, and I picked it up, and she said, it was the lady who hired me, and she said, Ricky, I have bad news, and I'm expecting you're fired. I mean, what else could it be, right?
Right.
And she said, Michael had a heart attack and died this morning.
Oh, my God, that's terrible.
And, he was it was the most devastating news I'd ever heard. We were both 23 years old. And in that moment, I really realized that we have to live every moment as if it's our last, because, not only is tomorrow not guaranteed, our next moment is not guaranteed.
That's very true. And I think we've all kind of had a similar, experience like that, like what you're saying, where we've had somebody that we're really close to, and then you don't ever think about that person being the one that passes, and then you miss them so much, and you'll never forget that moment, because I've had that moment too. We'll share that on another day, but I have had an experience, kind of similar. It was a little bit, I've seen a little bit detailed, but we all experience that, and it's that eye opener that like, okay, hey, we're not guaranteed tomorrow, because I think sometimes we get into the same routine every day, and we're just like, oh man, another day, man, you wake up and you're tired and you're like, man, I just don't feel good today. But what we should realize, maybe download your app and wake up and read that, and you're like, yeah, I feel good today. It's going to be some motivation. We're going to make some money today. We're going to be successful today. We're going to help somebody today. Try to do those things. And so I see what you're doing, and I really respect that, man. I got to.
Thank you.
And I really thank you for the kind words. So we have the golden nugget right here as we're coming into the closing. We have about 9 more minutes. So the golden nugget question is, what would you say is the most important advice on life that you have learned?
Again, that it can be over in a moment, right? But here's the thing. I think that I go back to my mentor. One of my favorite mentors is Jim Rohn, right? He was Tony Robbins' mentor. And as soon as I found that out, I devoured everything I could by him, and I quote him all the time. And what he said was, your personal philosophy is the greatest determining factor in how your life works out. And I thought about that, and I thought, well, what's my philosophy? And then I came up with, I think everything happens for a reason. I think there are no coincidences. And I've been saying that for so many years. And at the same time, I've spoken to so many people who have been through so much pain and suffering in their lives, and no matter what it is, or they'll look at me and say, well, if everything happens for a reason, how could there have been the Holocaust, or why is there cancer, or why the school shootings, and on and on. And I totally get that. And so finally, I've adjusted it so that still that is my philosophy, but can we all agree that everything happens?
Everything
Right.
happens for a reason, and I believe that too
It-
fully.
And even if it doesn't happen for a reason, I think everyone can agree that everything happens.
Oh, yeah.
And then it becomes a matter of, life is 10% what happens and 90% how we respond to it.
Yeah.
Right? It's the scripts that we write, because everything that happens in our objective reality, we write a script about, and we turn it into a subjective experience. And so it's through that, subjectivity and those scripts that we write that can really help us with the trajectory of the rest of our lives. Because if we feel like we're victims and everything is happening to us and all of that sort of thinking, it really is going to drive you down and cause despair and sadness and all of that, versus having the mindset that the universe is happening for us and it's conspiring for us, and that even through all of the pain and all of these experiences, because it's this emotional roller coaster we're on, there's a lesson in everything, and it may not show up until years down the line. I gleaned every bit of positive energy that I could from my friend. I feel like he's with me every day. Same with my mom, who I lost her way too early. I feel like I have one on each shoulder, right? I mean, so I really think it's your attitude in life that can really set you up for success if you do, if you do the things that we're talking about and have this concerted effort on, focusing on what's right rather than what's wrong.
Right, exactly. And, it's so hard sometimes. I think it's easier, what I try to tell people sometimes, it's a lot easier to go down that negative road than it is the positive road. And
Yes.
that's why a lot more people go down that negative road.
Right.
And they get sucked into it. It's almost like a storm of negative energy, and sometimes you have to, once you recognize that and you want to be a positive person, sometimes you have to push those people out the way and you have to come over here and do your own thing. And sometimes it takes time and a lot of hard work and a lot of hard times, but if you're patient and you wait, it'll work out, and like you said, it might take years, to get where you want to be, but if you think about it every day and you're working just a little bit towards it every single day, it's like building a house. You don't just throw it together. You got to, put the blocks in the right place,
Exactly, right. You got to have the right foundation, and that's what we're talking about.
Exactly. So I think it's really important to do things like what we're doing here with a bit of advice on air, things Dennis is doing. Dennis is doing great things. He's in China right now doing awesome things. I'm so proud of him. Yeah, he stepped out
Hi,
of
Dennis.
this. And hi, Dennis. I know he'll be watching this and making fun of us, I'm sure, from China, because he didn't have to do all the things that we've been doing, but I can only imagine what he's going through. It's probably about, 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning there now, something like that. I think it's Wednesday now. I think that's what he was saying last time I talked to him. So I hope you're living a good day tomorrow. But so if there any information that you would like to give to all the viewers or anybody else so they can, know a little bit more about you, about the app, about everything that, the successpotential.com and all that. So we got a few more minutes, so I'm going to give you the floor.
Thank you so much, Joshua. Yeah, again, always please feel free to reach out. As you can see, it says Chief Success Officer at successpotential.com, and successpotential is a term that I came up with over 20 years ago. When I was in network marketing, in fact. And so I just thought about this concept of helping individuals and companies grow their success exponentially in every area of life, in every department in a business. And so employee engagement and corporate culture is very important to me now. So I am available to go in and do these trainings, as I mentioned earlier. And then I also do one-on-one coaching, for individuals as well. So I'm a trained NLP practitioner. We didn't really get a chance to talk about NLP, but that's neuro-linguistic programming. That's what Tony Robbins has been doing since the 80s. He didn't invent it. It was actually kind of invented in the 70s, but he took it and ran with it. And I just love it because it gives you all these more powerful tools in your toolbox for eliminating limiting beliefs, right? And that little voice in your head can either be your best friend or your worst enemy, and many times it's the latter. if you forget where you parked your car, you forget where you put your keys or someone's name, our many times our instant go-to is, oh, such an idiot, I always do that, I'm so bad with names. All of that languaging is just beating on you, and that's not, that's not the way to have that spiral up. So I help people overcome things like that. And really, it's all about clarity. Most people spend more time planning their vacation than they do the rest of their lives, which is pretty staggering when you think about it. Yeah. But having those crystal clear goals and visions and all of that, I love serving, I love helping people. So please feel free, again, if you text the word awesome to 40691, you can download the app for free. It's going to be really fun. I'm going to build on everything that's in it right now. And, just reach out to me. You can do it through the website or the app.
Awesome. Well, we thank you so much for your time today. And we're going to be signing off now on Facebook and Twitch. We thank you all for joining us and listening. We hope you learned something from this advice from this powerful man, Ricky Powell, the Chief Success Officer of SuccessPotential.com. And we thank you so much, man, for coming out here 2 weeks in a row. We're sorry about last week.
Oh, no worries at all. Thank you so much, guys, for having me, and thank you for being out there. I really appreciate you watching.
All right, thank you. Yeah, everybody have